We're very lucky today to have Michael Ciborski here with us. I know Michael from your amazing voice and music, which I partake in on a regular basis. Thank you so much for being here. Michael's a lineage holding Dharma teacher in the tradition of our teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh. He lived as a monk for 7 years in Plum Village, France, and has worked intimately with Thai and the monastic community to organize, support, and offer meditation retreats around the world. A skilled musician, he informally studied voice training and chanting of several European and Asian traditions and served for several years as an English language chant master in the monastery. Michael also studies and practices in the tradition of Anthroposophy, begun by Rudolf Steiner. He finds great joy weaving together these two wonderful paths, guided by two marvelous and awakened human beings. After leaving the monastery in 2003, Michael returned to the US and, along with his wife Fern, has helped establish an intentional spiritual community and mindfulness center in southern New Hampshire known as Morning Sun. The link to Sandana is also in our invite today. So let's see, I don't think I've forgotten anything I'm supposed to share. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Michael and look forward to enjoying our time together.
Hi everyone. How is the sound right now? I suppose that's the first thing to check. I see a lot of thumbs up. Okay, good. Good. So, I'm really happy to be able to join you today. This is the first time I get to sit with a Earth Holder Sangha. Formally, I guess you could say. In my heart, I've always been here. In the U.S. today is a day that many people mark as Valentine's Day, a day where we look at love, and I am thinking today about this theme that I put forward on there, the love of our Earth Mother. And as I've moved through some years in parenting, being a father, being a parent for 3 children now, I think I've expanded my views through the experiences of being a parent, of what it is to have a parent's love, and also to understand this love of our Earth Mother. And I look to her a lot for guidance and how to be present, how to really love not only my children, but everyone I can. And I have found that the guidance that she offers is quite wonderful and quite deep, and that I have a lot to learn from her each day and how to love. And it's not just the love that it looks like a warm embrace Sometimes it's the love of a clear and defined line. Which is ultimately protective, right? As a mother's love would be, no, do not step off that edge. You might fall, right? So I want to share a little bit with you in the form of a meditation and some words, some stories, some thoughts about this. So I would like to begin with us with a guided meditation. Please find a way that you can be comfortable if you're not already. Supported, upright, relaxed is very important for our sitting, that we are not struggling to be in the position that we're in. And as you settle in, first of all, I would like to invite you, if you haven't already, to withdraw your attention from the screen. The screens are proving to be quite wonderful and marvelous things in the last year for all of us, helping us to connect with each other, but we need to remember that they are just representations. The images of our friends and families, our siblings in the practice from all over the world that are in front of us are representations of who they truly are and where they truly are. And so to connect more deeply with that sense of togetherness that we have to begin this meditation, I invite you to withdraw from the surface of the screen into the space of your heart, the cells of your body, your breathing, your lungs, feeling the breath moving in and out, sensing with your eyes the place that you inhabit, with your ears the sounds that vibrate with you in this moment, in this place, with your nose the fragrance of the moment, with your tongue the taste in your mouth, with your body the softness and support of the cushion, the chair, the clothing, the temperature of the room, senses alert, awake, alive in the moment. And simply be aware that yes, together, although not in the same room, the same Dharma hall geographically, in the same Dharma hall globally, we sit each in our own point, fully present, in-breath and out-breath, alive and awake, sharing in this moment of deep looking. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May the hearers waken from forgetfulness and and transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. I listen, and this wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. I listen, and this wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. May the sound of the bell reach deeply into the cosmos. In even the darkest places, may beings hear it clearly, so that understanding lights up their hearts. They may realize awakening and find their way home. I listen, and I feel my afflictions begin to dissolve. My mind calm, my body relaxed. A smile is born upon my lips. Following the sound of the bell, my breath guides me back to the safe island of mindfulness. And in the garden of my heart, a flower of peace blooms beautifully. As I continue to breathe in and breathe out, I bring all of my attention into the space of my nose and throat and lungs, where the air is entering my body with the in-breath and where air leaves my body with the out-breath. I feel the air entering my body with the in-breath. I feel air leaving my body with the out-breath. And I am aware that not only the air that comes into my body, but it is also the out-breath of forests, of green algae in wetlands and lakes, of the blanket of green that covers much of the lands and edges of the waters of our beautiful planet. My in and out breath is nourished by the in and out breath of all growing things. Feeling the air move into my body and out of my body, I allow myself to be nourished, to be cared for, to be loved by the earth. And as I breathe in and out, I receive that love fully, opening my heart, opening the cells of my body to not only oxygen, but the care and love and nourishment of the earth. And as I continue to breathe in and breathe out, I become aware of the soft embrace of shelter, the shelter that my clothes provide for my body. The delicate and gentle coverings over my skin, the protection from cold, from ease of self-image, shelter. I become aware of the room, in the house, in the home in which I am, the shelter that it offers me. The comfort and the safety that is offered. I become aware of the shelter of our biosphere, the living surface of our earth and its climates, flowing between warm and cold or just right, and all of the conditions provided by the shelter of the biosphere. Breathing in and out, I feel supported, wrapped, held and nourished by all the layers of shelter that our Mother Earth offers. And I open my heart and the cells of my body to receive her love fully. And as I continue to breathe in and breathe out, I become aware of the sustenance that I receive each day, the foods that I eat, the waters that I drink, and how the bodies of so many living beings around me become my own body each day, and how my body continues on in the bodies of others. Aware of all the minerals that are offered, that are present, that are received and taken in. Aware of the plant beings whose lives bring life energy to my own. The animal beings whose lives become my own. And all the waters that flow, that sustain me. Breathing in and out, I feel the nourishment and the care, the love of Mother Earth, offered and present within me through the foods that I eat and the waters that I drink. And I open my heart and the cells of my body to receive her love in this way. And as I continue to breathe in and to breathe out, aware of all of these ways in which the love of Mother Earth is wrapped around and through and in me, the air that I'm breathing, the shelter and sustenance I receive and take refuge in. I now open my mind and heart to soften the boundaries between myself and my Mother Earth and all that she is. I allow myself to soften into the non-separation, to the place where all that she is all that I am, and all that I am is her. I open my heart and the cells of my body into interbeing. And here, breathing in and out, my breath and the breath of my mother are one and the same. My shelter and the arms of my mother are one and the same. The body of the earth and my own body are one and the same. Softening these boundaries, I am the receiver of the love, but I am also offering the love. Who is mother? Who is child? Now with my next breathings in and out, I draw myself fully into the cells of my body, aware that deeply, on a deep level, the boundaries are still soft, wide open and connected. And yet I draw myself into the space of my fingers and toes and legs and arms and belly and back and neck and head and face, into this particular place that I inhabit, this particular perspective that I have, breathing in and breathing out into the present moment, here and now. Take a moment to relax and adjust your posture if needed. Dear friends, this kind of meditation has a lot of different layers to it, a lot of different levels. I hope that is something that, and on at least one of those levels and layers, it's nourishing for you. There was a moment years ago when our teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, said, we are not, the environment is not out there. We are our environment. I know many of you have encountered his writings and teachings on these things. In light of that kind of an teaching, that indication, something is very important for me to realize, and that is that I matter, right? I matter. That each one of us matters. And I know that each one of us has had moments where we feel that we don't really matter, that we are quite small and insignificant, that we suffer, right? We suffer, and something feels incomplete or not quite right. Sometimes we might characterize that as we are not valued or respected or recognized or loved in the way that we might feel we need to be. But in these matters of practice, we matter. And certainly in matters of love, we matter. If you can connect with an experience when you were suffering, and how perhaps someone offered you a smile or invited you to a cup of tea to sit and connect, and they sat and offered a listening ear, right? And you were able to connect and to share what was difficult, what was suffering for you in that moment. There's something that happens in that kind of a moment where, whether we know it or not, we begin to matter. We matter because the other person stopped and looked at us, smiled, took some of their time to offer that listening ear. We are significant. We matter. And if our heart is open just a little bit, we can receive the presence and the love, the kindness that is offered. We matter. The love can flow. The love can have meaning, right? The other person's presence, their listening ear, if we allow it in, it takes on meaning. It can move, it can become a part of us, it can nourish us, help to heal us. It can bring a little bit of that magic that we idealize and long for, some of us through our whole lives, right? The longing for love, the longing for, how many human beings and human interactions and human stories are on this topic, right? We have a great longing and a need for some kind of connection or contentment, or something is pushing us inside. And when we're suffering, that's very clear. It's really pushing us. And then when that person comes along and offers that ear, offers that smile, their presence, their care, if we are able to let that in, love can move, love can flow, and the nourishment can happen. A little bit of that dream comes true. We matter, right? Of course, we look at this and we can also see how the other person also matters quite a bit, right? Their presence, their full presence, and their clarity and understanding, their ability and capacity to offer something matters, right? Their the space inside them is great enough that when they encounter our suffering, right, they can recognize it for what it is. They can understand what is needed and offer something. But without that presence, without their spaciousness, without their understanding and their kindness, the love can't flow either, right? And this is another part of what matters, right? The other person matters a lot. Sometimes we are that other person, the one offering, right? And so, from our perspective, as the one who is offering that space and that listening ear, the other person's suffering is important. It matters. All of these sort of perspectives, they point in the direction of the teachings on interbeing, the teachings that lead us on the path of love. So we can say that we matter, we can say that the other matters, but we can also say that the Dharma matters. The way of looking, the way of being present, the way of understanding ourselves and the other matters. Because there are many ways to look upon each other, right? So the Dharma also matters. There are many ways to listen or appear to be listening to one another. The way of the Dharma also matters. It's almost like there's a prerequisite, an act of love, of offering love, requires all these things. It requires the recipient, right? And it requires the openness to receive, for it to flow. It requires the presence and the clarity of the one offering. It requires the capacity to offer. This is something I think about a lot in terms of our Earth Mother, right? She's lately been indicating to us in the last few decades that she does have capacity. It is not limitless, right? That's one of those reflections that works well with me in my family life, right? I have a certain amount of capacity to be present, to listen, and to love my loved ones. And then at a certain point, I get too full myself, and I've got no more capacity. And I have to make some space, take some space, come home to myself, maybe remove myself, and regenerate and heal and transform. And hopefully I can transform in a positive way that still has space for my children. But there are many situations where I have felt a close line for myself, like I might cross that line and not be able to return with full love for my children. I think our Earth Mother sometimes, she feels that too. But that doesn't stop her from offering. And that's what guides me onwards in those hard moments where I feel like I've reached my limit. It's like, well, whether or not I can make it through, how I do this, what I offer now matters and counts, right? So I will always do my best. I won't give up. So there's a story about inclusiveness and non-discrimination that I want to tell you. I hope this isn't too strange for some of you, but recently, as a parent, I had the opportunity to watch a movie with my children, some of my children. It's an older movie, so I was rewatching it actually, from my childhood. It's a kind of a epic science fiction war story that has a Zen bend to it. And we were watching the second of this trilogy. And there's a scene in this where one of the heroes is undergoing training, where Luke Skywalker, a somewhat arrogant and carefree, careless, almost in a way, young apprentice warrior is training in his warrior skills with a master, a very seemingly small yet powerful and ancient Yoda. And during his training on this swampy planet where everything seems to be adverse to comfort, they pause for a rest. And while standing there, Luke observes, from a sense seemingly within him, he says, "It's cold here." Right? This is a hot place, like they're never wearing any clothes there, so it's obviously not the environment, but he feels it inside. "It's cold here." And Yoda replies to him, "That place," pointing next to him, "that place is strong with the dark side. That place is strong with the dark side. That's what you feel." And then he looks at his student and he says, "You must go in." That place is strong with the dark. You must go in. There's no option here. It's not like, would you like to do this? This is this teacher telling the student, if you want to be on this path, this is where you go. You must go in. Well, Luke's rather overconfident, right? And he's like, "All right." And he looks back at Yoda and says, "What's in there?" And Yoda says, "Only what you take with you." Oh, I love it. It's so Zen. That place is strong with the dark side. You must go in. What's in there? Only what you take with you. Right? Isn't that kind of cool? I love that. It's all right, all right. So what does Luke do? Ow! He buckles on his belt with his blaster and his lightsaber like the warrior on the strong, able, strong conviction, puts it on and he starts to step forward towards this cave. And Yoda says, "You won't need those," about his weapons. But he looks back over his shoulder and heads on in. Well, you can guess what happens if you don't know, but shortly thereafter, he's in the cave and he has a vision of his greatest enemy, and seeing his most feared nemesis in front of him in this vision, he draws his lightsaber, he ignites his lightsaber for battle. And it's then after Luke ignites his lightsaber that his enemy does. And then there's a very short lightsaber duel, which ends very abruptly with Luke swinging his saber through the air and decapitating his enemy. This is actually, I watched this with my children. It's not really a children's movie. The head of his nemesis rolls on the floor in front of him. He looks down, having slain his enemy, as the head turns over, and he looks at it, and it's his own face looking back at him. Right? You must go in. What's in there? Only what you take with you. He goes in with his hatred of his enemy, with his fear of dying, with his conviction that battle and fighting is the way through, and slays himself. Right? It's a beautiful teaching. It's very strong, but it's a beautiful teaching. So I have spent some time over the years, in the past, but also recently, having watched this film again recently, pondering what might be an alternative path to beheading ourselves with our anger and violence. Right? What might be an alternative? And I guess, fortunately, having had the years of contact with really wonderful people and teachers, it doesn't seem that hard for me to answer that question. Like, what would be an alternative? But at the same time, I really like to hold it, because I can see this on many levels. On an outer level as being sort of the gross story of violence and war, but on a much more subtle level as being my discomforts and my fears and my anxieties on a smaller level in my daily life. Yeah. But what's an alternative to striding forward with conviction, righteousness, I know best kind of energy? In other words, there is an other, right? I am me, and I'm on a path, and there is another who's on another path. And when I have that anger, right, the other is wrong and I'm right. When I have that conviction that my way is better and the other's is worse, right? And that's sort of my views are correct, are inclusive, are good, are beautiful, and the others are not, right? There is a self and an other. There's a separation. I am not living in the realm of the practice of the Dharma when I'm like that. I'm living in completely the opposite. I am separating myself from the other. I am not touching my interbeing nature. I am certainly not in accord with the love that my mother teaches me every day, or Mother Earth teaches me every day. Here's another story to illustrate that a little bit. A couple of years ago, just over 2 years ago, a dear friend of mine, a neighbor and dear friend, died of cancer. Annie was her name. So Annie struggled with her cancer for almost 4 years. So somewheres in the middle of that journey for her, she and I had a conversation, and she shared something to me about how a change had happened for her. So when she first got the news that she had a terminal illness, she was horror-stricken. She felt the injustice, the fear, everything that comes with a moment like that. She felt it fully. She had a baby boy that she had just brought into the world a year before. Of course, she was not happy about this. And I understand that completely. But her attitude, that she explained to me, that her attitude at that time was really to fight this, to go against it. She needed to get rid of these cancerous cells in her body, and she went all in on that journey as hard as she could. And time after time there would be a change, maybe a tiny bit of remission, but then that very beguiling cancer would find its way around and cause some secondary manifestation, and it would come back in another way, and it went on and on like that. But about halfway through all of her work to meet this on all different levels led her to a realization that the cells of the cancer that were destroying her were at the same time cells of her own body. The cells of the cancer that were destroying her were at the same time her own cells. Cells that were not in balance, cells that were not well, cells that needed a kind of care and the love if she could give it. She did die from her cancer 2 years ago. But from the point when she shifted her awareness, her journey was different. Right? The quality of her love was different. And all of us who were near her in the last months and year of her life could feel the quality of her love, the immense boundlessness of it, where she was going beyond self and other, right, to what was most important, the simple act, if she had the capacity to offer that love, right, even to the cells of her body which were killing her. Yeah. Without discrimination, touching interbeing like that is very powerful. Totally inclusive, to include the perceived enemy in the embrace, in the understanding, in the loving that we do, that we give, that we offer. I have thought that perhaps Annie's story is a microcosm of our Earth Mother's story, with all of her peoples and the human peoples being a little bit out of control right now. The last bit of our evolution has put a lot of strain on our Earth Mother and her capacity to maintain balance, right? And that it's possible that when she goes to take her space to regenerate, to reconnect and redo whatever she needs to do, that there won't be a lot of space for us as human beings, right? But it's possible that it goes another direction too. We don't know that. Yeah. Either way, that's not the question. At least as far as Annie's story is concerned. Either way, the path is still inclusiveness and non-discrimination. The path is still deep and true capacity to love. Yeah. That is our way. So when we're looking at someone who has different politics from us, can we practice like that? I know there's a lot of resistance in there. There's a lot of patterning of fear and anxiety there. But can we do it? Can we walk into that cave without our weapons? Can we face our nemesis with our peacefulness, with our understanding, with our interbeing? Oh, well, we got to grow it if we're going to do that, right? We got to grow that capacity. Can we do it with our religion? We see someone who has different religious views than us. Can we do that? Can we meet them fully there? As part of this process, not as an other in it. Anyone with different views, can we meet them? Can we make that space to include them in our love? That's the question I'm prompted by my Earth Mother every day, because she does it. She does it without discrimination, totally inclusive. As long as she has capacity, she's offering. There's never any vengeance, there's never any righteousness. I would like to leave you, before we go to Dharma sharing, with a poem by Rabia, who is a 8th century Islamic poet and saint of sorts, if you will. This is a little phrase of hers called "the way the forest shelters." And she's somebody who suffered a lot in her life, but yet stayed true to the path. This is somebody that I like to, it's kind of like Tai too, right? He went through so many hell realms, but he stayed true with the Dharma. He mattered, the suffering mattered, the others mattered, but the Dharma also mattered. And you can hear in Rabia's words, she had the same presence. The way the forest shelters. I know about love the way the fields know about light, the way the forest shelters. The way an animal's divine raw desire seeks to unite with whatever might please its soul, without a single thought of remorse. You know, there is a powerful delegation in us that lobbies every moment for contentment. But how will you ever find peace unless you yield to love? The way the gracious earth does to your hand's impulse. I know about love the way fields know about light, the way the forest shelters. The way an animal's divine raw desire seeks to unite with whatever might please its soul, without a single thought of remorse. There is a powerful delegation in us that lobbies in every moment for contentment. Yet how will you ever find peace unless you yield to love? The way the gracious earth does to our hand's impulse. Thank you, friends. Super happy to be here with you all. Oh, what? I missed that. I gotta go to the chat now. Somebody's writing me something. All right. Can you please share the name of that poem again? It's called The Way the Forest Shelters by Rabia, R-A-B-I-A.
Thank you so much, Michael, and we're so happy to have you here with us. If you could put the name of that in the chat, that would make everybody very happy. Thank you. What a beautiful sharing. I feel very moved and inspired and grateful. So thank you. Michael is going to offer the sharing of the merit, and then after we will introduce ourselves.
Reciting the sutras and practicing the way of awareness gives rise to benefits without limit. We vow to share the fruits with all beings. We vow to offer tribute to parents, teachers, friends, and all beings who give guidance and support along the path.
so much, Michael. What a gift to have you here with us today. So appreciate your presence. I just